Not working. Oh, sorry. Good morning, bonjour. I'd like to welcome you all here to the meeting this morning. Excuse me, I do have a little cold, so if I get kind of raspy or whatever, I will try to correct that. But I'd like to welcome our two new council members, Peter Chief Bohne and Shane Drift, for their first meeting. Good luck, guys. No, just kidding. But anyway, thank you all for coming. Today we will be presenting budgets also. So with that, we'll get started with call a meeting to order. And roll call, please. Here.
Here. Here. Here.
Okay, I see that Jean was not able to make it today, so we'll do a moment of silence for invocation. Which? Approval of the agenda, Cor.
I have one addition and one deletion. The addition will be, we'll add Bill Latati with a MnDOT contract for TIPO and cultural resource compliance for a MnDOT project on the North Shore.
Where do you want to add him at, Cor?
We'll put him at the end. And then we'll remove Randy Long's IT contract. That is all changes I had.
What did you say about the IT contract?
We're going to remove it.
Okay.
There's still some questions from legal.
Okay. I would like to add the Fortune Bay distribution for 2018, approval for that on the agenda, the dollar amount.
I'll put that under Kim?
Yeah.
Is it under Kim?
Put it under Kim.
Okay. It's on the third page.
Any other additions? Not, I'll call for a motion to approve the agenda with additions and deletions. Moved by Shane. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Chief. Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Minutes of meeting held in Nett Lake for September 19th, 2018. Go ahead.
I have a question.
Okay.
On the second page, down at the bottom, it says moved by Reid, second by Dave Morrison Sr. to approve increasing the sexual abuse limits. This is a grant requirement for the Boys and Girls Club. What is that specifically?
Within the Boys and Girls Club, there was In all the Boys and Girls Clubs across the country, there's a liability coverage for sexual abuse that happens on site.
Mhm.
And that was, is that $1 million, Corey?
Yeah, it's for the directors and board members, people that work there. There's a certain limit that they needed. Right now, we've applied for a waiver for it to, because of the tribe's immunity for lawsuits. But it's up to the National Boys and Girls Club to either approve or disapprove that waiver. And if not, we have our insurance, Boyd, who handles our insurance, is looking at another policy expressly for that sexual abuse limits. And right now, it's looking like about $18,000 a year just separate for that insurance. So we're trying to get away from, that we gotta pick up that additional insurance, or else we, but we did apply for a waiver. And that's a requirement by the National Boys and Girls Club.
You got the two insurances mixed up. The increase in liability for sexual abuse is the maximum amount for, like, if someone was to sue us or we had costs related, and had to pay for a case, that was up to $1 million, and that was about $1,600 to up that. The other one that Corey's talking about, the really expensive one, is the officers and directors liability. And that's something unique to the Boys and Girls Club that you need, and that's the expensive one, but that's the one that, they're two different things.
So the tribe pays for that then?
Yeah.
It would be part of the operation costs of having the site, having the sites open underneath the Boys and Girls Club.
I have a question. Kim, if we get that coverage, if we have to get that coverage, then does that covers the whole organization as a whole, correct? Not just the Boys and Girls Club, or is it the whole organization?
Well, there's a couple of options, because I know Mark was going to talk to Boyd directly, because if we made the Boys and Girls Club a separate entity and just covered the Boys and Girls Club Board of Directors and officers, if it would be less.
Okay.
The problem is that most insurance companies won't cover, like, the tribal government, tribal council.
Okay.
And that's why it's really expensive, right? Because if we have to go with that, that's when it gets really expensive. That's what they're trying to find different alternatives.
Okay,
So
thank you.
And we haven't received word yet back from the National Boys and Girls Club if they've approved the waiver or not. If they disapprove it, then we gotta go with alternatives that we were putting forward, just to try to cut those costs down for operation.
Got another question on what I would like to point out is regarding the big paragraph on that same page. Talks about the new courthouse, and talks about review of the tribal courts in the nation. It was recently renovated, but there are still attorneys meeting with clients in cars outside. Another issue is security. There were a couple instances where people that are in a court system get very angry with the outcome of what happens. So, to me, how is the new court system going to keep our people safe, keep the people in there that are going to court? How are they going to keep them safe?
Andy, or Wendy, I know that part of it is the construction of the court itself, offices, and how it's structured right now is just that you've got the waiting area where
Yeah.
people sit. There'll be more room for that, and I'll let Andy and Wendy answer that. They have more detail.
Yeah, there would be more room. There'll also be more separation, so there'd be separate meeting rooms available for attorneys to meet with clients, and if there was, for example, a case where there are opposing parties, there would be rooms where they could be separated. There'll also be more security built into the facility in terms of the office areas where the judges' chambers and staff's chambers are. would have electronic door controls. And there will also be the ability to have a portable metal detector if there were certain cases where there was concerns about safety, where anybody coming into the court chambers could be, have to go through a metal detector.
Okay. That's all the questions I have.
Thank you, Shane. If there's no other questions on the minutes, do we have a motion to approve the September 19, 2018 meeting minutes at Nett Lake?
Move.
Moved by Travis, is there a second? Seconded by Dave, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Silent, motion carried.
Introduction and the staff.
Good morning, Terry.
Good
Dave Al.
morning. We are pleased to announce and welcome Dave L. Jones to our housing staff as housing coordinator.
Morning. We got Alex Isham. He started as maintenance tech 1. We're pleased to have him. He's young and full of energy.
That's what we like to see.
Word, Alex?
Okay, next we have the consent agenda. Approved revised list of political contributions in the amount of $31,250 as recommended by Bois Lobbyist Reid, LeBeau. Approved revised leave share policy retro to 8/1/2018. Approved the request from Chief of Police Jaime Burdick to sole source the purchase of a drug dog from Vohne Liche Kennels Incorporated in the amount of $17,396. Improved accepting the proposal from Braun Intertec for materials testing and inspections for the Tribal Court Edition project in the amount of $10,295. Approved the request from Louise Isham to sole source the room and food from Fortune Bay in the amount of $5,000 for the swearing-in ceremony. Approved by request from Randy Long to source from Compudyne in the amount of $4,215.92 for the Hewlett-Packard warrant for the admin servers. Approved request from Adam Baki to sole source the room and food from Fortune Bay in the amount of $3,581.75 for the sobriety feast being held at Fortune Bay on October 25th. Approved the request from Chief of Police Jaime Burdick to sole source from Emergency Automotive Technologies Incorporated in the amount of $6,453.99 to prepare a vehicle for the K9 dog. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Moved by David, is there a second?
Kathy, I have a question.
Oh, yes.
Regards to the approved revised list of political contributions,
Yes.
who is on the political list that we're contributing money to?
I don't have the list with me right now, but there was a full page and a half of contributions prior. And I know some of it goes to the DFL caucus party, some goes to $500 to individuals. I can get that list for you after the meeting. I don't have it with me right now.
Okay, that would be good, thank you.
Thank you, Lorna. Oh, yeah. Lorna, just for informational purposes, sometimes when we donate monies, they've reached their maximum amount allowed by the law. So sometimes that money is returned back to us if they've reached their maximum amount they can receive for contributions. Okay. Yep, thank you. I'll make sure and get you that list after the meeting. Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Dave. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Chief. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried.
We have Louise Isham with a request for a sole source for Fortune Bay and a sole source request for utilizing a veteran celebration gift for the Northern Eagle Credit Union.
Good morning, Louise.
Good morning. Okay, today I'm requesting the sole source to use Fortune Bay for their venue and their food for our veteran celebration being held on November 9th. And it in the amount of $5,490.
Okay, any questions?
Could you just read out the breakdown of the monies where it says buffet, cakes?
They have not given me that list yet. The room, I believe there is a room fee of $200. And then there is a gratuity of 20%.
Yes.
And then I believe the food is going to around
$24.95.
$17 to $18 a person.
So this is estimated that we have here.
Yeah. That's the total amount that they're charging us for this event.
And this is on Friday, November 9th,
Yes,
and it's going to be from 5:30 to 7:30?
yes.
And you're anticipating about 175?
About 175 to 200 people.
We have a motion to approve this request for sole source for Fortune Bay for the veterans. Oh, you have any more questions?
No,
Oh, okay.
I'll move.
Okay, moved by Shane to approve. Is there a second? Second by Dave. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried.
The second one I'm requesting is sole source again for the veterans gift cards from Northern Eagle Federal Credit Union in the amount of $7,600. That's approximately, say, about 190 gift cards at $35 a gift card plus a $3 fee per card.
Any questions? If not, I'll call for a motion to approve the request to sole source veteran gift cards from Northern Eagle in the amount of $7,600. Moved by Dave. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trav. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Louise.
Thanks, Louise. Next, we have Wendy Thompson with a contract to amend the codes.
Morning, Wendy.
I sent those after Mark some time ago. And the ones who submitted a contract was David Harrington. He is going to be giving up his being judge for the 9th Judicial District. The other one is Margaret and Megan Troyer. Well, David Harrington, he went for 19,500. Megan and Margaret Troyer went for the same amount, 19,900. And Jacobson Law Group submitted a proposal for 19,000.
Wendy, this contract to amend the tribal code, tribal criminal and the tribal codes is part of the CTAS grant, correct?
Right, it's coming
So
out
it's-
of the CTAS
You
grant.
have money, you have money to cover this out of that grant.
Yes.
How many codes are you looking to change or update or create?
Well, they're going to be looking at the criminal code, the traffic code, and the children's court code. For sure, but there's also the civil code, the appointment of personal representatives, let's see what else is there. Elder financial abuse code. I don't know if they're going to look at those.
Okay, so once he updates or creates these codes, do they gotta come to the tribal council for approval? What happens?
Well, what happens is they'll be published. They'll go out to the public. They'll be published out for a 30-day comment period.
Mm-hmm.
They'll come back to the, any changes that are made will come back, and the changes will be made, and then it'll go out again for another comment period, and if there's no comments, then it'll go to the council for
Okay.
adoption.
Yeah, Wendy, and I think maybe one of the codes is regarding VAWA, because that was just recently done, correct?
What?
The VAWA code was just recently done, so there's
Yeah,
codes
that,
that
yeah,
have been
that'll be
updated
left
that
alone. Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be included in that. Just for informational purposes, I believe David Harrington is a band member?
No,
Voice-
he's not a band
He's not a
member.
band member, okay.
No.
He's a descendant of a band member?
Yeah,
No?
as far as I know, no.
Okay,
But it's just that he was, worked as the public defender for years at the tribal court.
he worked here before then, okay,
Mhm,
thank you.
Right.
Oh, he was a tribal attorney at one time? Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I remember Skip Finn, up attorney for him. Okay. So you need us or a selection needs to be made with regards to these. So we have 2 at 19.5 and 1 at 19,000. Council, any comments? I think it's well needed, and the review of the court system was done a few years back, and that was one of the recommendations. The Bureau of Indian Affairs reviewed all tribal courts throughout the country, and to see what some of the issues were within tribal courts, and this was one of the issues that needed to be addressed, so we're very fortunate we got the CTAS grant to incorporate these updates. Because, you know, things change every day, so our codes really need a lot of updating. Careful.
Yes.
Because, well, you know, I hate to say it, but all we ever hear is it's not in the code, or we can't enforce it because it's not in the code.
Right.
And so I like the idea of public comment, because the public has their input too for the codes if they...
Right, and then for years, even when Peggy Troyer was a judge, she kept saying, this needs to be changed, this needs to be changed.
Nice to see that we'll get to that opportunity.
Mhm.
Just a matter who's going to do it, so.
Anyway, out of the three, my recommendation would be Margaret and Peggy Troyer, just for the fact that Peggy has been there for years on the bench. That's how our court works. And she knows what needs to be changed.
recommendation. There needs to be a selection made, council, so it's up to you guys. Make suggestions or...
Yes.
Looks like you've got three very good proposals here. You know, Dave Harrington, who worked for the tribe in the past, Margaret Troyer, who was previous judge and worked in the past. Then we have Jacobson used to be Jacobson Buffalo. Jacobson, who is our current attorney, but I believe that they have a lot of the codes there already, so it's up to you guys what you want to recommend. We do have a low bidder on the contract. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to go with the low bidder. It's up to you guys.
Well, do you want me to have everybody rebid again
Oh,
and see if anybody else wants to bid?
I think we've waited long enough.
This has been open since
You can make a
like
motion to
October
whoever
of
you want.
last year.
The Jacobson,
What?
I would say Jacobson Law Group. Is that,
Well, it's your decision.
It's your decision. You want to,
I make a
What-
motion for Jacobson Law.
motion made by Chief to go with Jacobson? Jacobson Law Group? Jacobson Law Group. Motion made by Chief, is there a second? Excuse me, call for a second again. Okay, motion dies for lack of second. Okay, come on, council.
Megan is our judge now.
Yes.
I think Wendy has a point that Margaret and Troyer have a lot of experience here, and they know what needs to be changed. I'll make a motion for Troyer and Troyer.
Okay, motion made by Travis for Troyer and Troyer. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Shane. All in favor signify by saying aye. You have to stand up here if you do it. Sorry.
What Troyers are these?
Megan and Margaret Troyer.
And is Megan still our judge?
Yes, she is.
Isn't that a conflict of interest?
Eh? But Margaret isn't.
What?
Margaret isn't on our court
No,
system anymore.
No, she isn't.
So is it coming from Margaret, Wendy, or Margaret and Megan? No, which one? Is it coming from Margaret and Megan, or just Margaret?
No, actually, it's more or less coming from Margaret,
Okay,
but Megan said she would like help do
Okay.
the typing and everything,
okay.
just for a simple fact that Margaret's been there all these years.
When you Okay, there's a motion, all in favor. We've got a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Come on, council. Opposed? David's opposed. We have no ayes. David's opposed.
I'm opposed.
2 opposed. Silent. Motion dies. 2 opposed, no. Huh? I'll break the tie. I'm opposed. We need another one. Last one is Harrington.
What?
Motion for David Harrington.
David makes a motion for David Harrington. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Chief. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. It'll be Dave Harrington. Thank you, Wendy.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I know that was a hard decision.
Yeah, it is.
Now we can move forward on it.
Right.
Now we can get our codes updated.
Okay, next we have Adam Vaki, thank you. Next we have Adam Vaki with a sole source from Fortune Bay to do the annual quiz bowl being held at Fortune Bay on November 30th.
Morning, Adam.
So I'm requesting to sole source the food venue for Fortune Bay in the amount of $3,215 for the Bois Forte Annual Quiz Bowl on November 30th, and that is put on by our youth prevention program.
Okay, any questions for Adam? If not, I'll call for a motion to approve the sole source request.
When is your event?
What's that?
When is your event?
November 30th.
Okay.
Adam, are the kids coming from all over the state, or?
Yep.
The quiz bowl's really, I had an opportunity to watch it. It's really interesting. It's really nice to see these kids using the language and
That's for high school, right?
7 through
I don't-
12.
Yeah, I
Yep.
don't think it's just high school.
I'll make a motion.
Motion to approve the sole source request in the amount of $3,215 to Fortune Bay, made by David. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Chief. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Next we have
Adam,
Rob.
can you tell us some questions they're gonna ask? At the quiz bowl?
The revised bylaws for the Utility Advisory Committee.
Good morning, Rob.
Morning. Yeah, we just need to revise our utility board, bylaws.
There's just 3 changes you had, right?
Yeah, we have a couple changes. We had to add another 4th stand-in member in there. We were having trouble getting Indian Point representative, so. And then we also added in polling and pretty much it.
And then you also added in Article 5, Section 3, by meeting by electronic communications.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rob. Where you can meet by electronic communications, you had also added?
Yep, Colin.
Good. Any other questions for Rob on the revised bylaws for the Utilities Advisory Committee? If not, I'll call for a motion to approve the new revised bylaws for 2019.
Motion.
Motion made by Chief. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Trav. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Good
Thank
job,
you.
Rob. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Next, we have Doris with an agreement for the National Indian Child Welfare Review.
Morning, Doris.
Morning. The purpose of this agreement is to set forth the terms and conditions under which a service provider will assist Bois Forte Band of Chippewa in conducting a review of the Bois Forte Band of Chippewa Child Welfare Department to assess the current level of functioning and capacity and to determine readiness to expand and adapt to possible changes to the child welfare system policy structure and operations. There is an agreement in your packet between Bois Forte and the National Indian Child Welfare Association out of Portland, Oregon. And we started discussions on this review back in August with under the encouragement of Corey. And so Donna and myself and Corey had conference calls, several conference calls with a girl by the name of Corey Matthews out in Oregon. And told her what we wanted them to review and asked them for a proposal. In the meantime, we have, Corey has discussed with Sam Moose out of Fond du Lac, their Director of Health, who is currently also assessing their Indian Child Welfare Program. And while he was the Health Director at Mille Lacs, they also did a review of their program. And I agree with him that a review will only be, will do nothing but improve our program and help us to identify shortfalls, training needs, compliance of the Indian Child Welfare Act. And so I think everything in this agreement, I've read it over a couple times, and everything in the agreement is what we have discussed with that organization and what we'd like them to do for us. And so the total cost of the agreement will be $45,000 with travel expenses totaling approximately $16,500. And they will be on site at least 3 times, and it'll take them 6 months to review the program. They will come up and they will actually pull charts and do spot checks of the different files. They'll meet with police department, county social workers, I think they said they'd meet with a couple of community members, the staff at Human Services, and then they will be making a presentation to the Tribal Council on their findings. And so I'd recommend that this agreement be approved. We have identified funds in the Health Department general account to pay for the program, for the review.
Thank you, Doris. That was very informational. Just for a note for informational purposes, I know probably one of the areas that they'll find is that we don't have enough staff.
Yeah.
Because I know within the ICWA system that staffing is an issue because they're kind of all over the state. They get requests from out of state for our tribal members. So, that will help us, I hope, with this review to pursue other funding for staffing or whatever issues we may have. On a national note, I want to say that on October 5th, ICWA was determined unconstitutional by the Texas District Court. And we have a fight every day for ICWA on a national level because these courts are constantly trying to get rid of ICWA. And so, those are things that we're constantly fighting on a national level. So the more people know about it, I think the more we can talk to our congressmen and legislators. This is an important program for our Indian children and our families. And for it to be deemed as unconstitutional is not appropriate, and it's not tolerable. But also, Doris, I see that the review team are all natives from across the country within the NICWA, so I really see it as a great move forward for the staff, and I hope we can get more staffing out of it once the review is done, because they are pulled every which way. Most of them have numerous caseloads, which get high burnout by that time.
Yeah. I would also like to add that I've compared this agreement with Vohne Liche, and they're basically the same. I did forward this to Mark Anderson on October 5th, and I have not yet received an approval from him. And so I guess I'd like to request that this be approved pending his approval.
Any questions for Doris?
Has there ever been a review of our ICWA program?
We've had state audits of state forms, but nothing this detailed.
For myself, when I first heard about this, I asked, what is this for? And the second paragraph pretty much answers my questions. The purpose of this review is to provide the tribal management with information needed to plan for strengthened services. Information on how the program is doing will be augmented with recommendations for corrective actions or program enhancements. The goal of the study is to provide the best possible planning information and to leave the program stronger by having engaged in the process. And it's like, yes.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Do we have a motion to approve the agreement for the National Indian Child Welfare Review?
Move.
Moved by Travis. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Shane. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Silent? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Great job.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Andy with a contract for the Tribal Transportation Safety Plan.
Morning, Andy.
Morning. So a little background on this. Last December, I became aware of a small grant program through the U.S. Department of Transportation for tribal transportation safety planning. And it's a program that can provide $12,500 to tribes to have transportation safety plans prepared. And the reason that, the primary reason that a plan like that is important is that we need to have a tribal transportation safety plan in order to be eligible to apply for certain kinds of transportation safety grants. And over the years, there had been some pretty significant grant dollars available for things like intersection reconstruction, lighting improvements at intersections, pedestrian crossings, a variety of things related to highway safety on the reservation. So we applied for the grant, kind of forgot about it, and were just notified a few weeks ago that we had been awarded this grant. And so I sent out a request for proposals to 3 engineering firms who have experience in this area. SEH, and they were interested but indicated that they were very busy right now, and so they declined to bid. LHB, which is a firm out of Duluth, I had talked to them on the phone and they were interested, but they never did respond to the RFP. And then Northern Engineering and Consulting, which is located in Bemidji. And they have done prior work at Bois Forte. They have done many of these tribal transportation safety plans on other reservations, including Red Lake, Leech Lake, a number of them around the northern part of the country here. And so they're very skilled and qualified to do this type of work. So the recommendation is to accept their proposal. Their proposal was for not to exceed, to do the work for not to exceed $12,500. This contract would be subject to indirect costs. And I inquired from the Bureau if they would provide additional money to cover the indirect costs, but they said no. So the indirect costs have to come out of the $12,500, which leaves $10,330 that would be available for the contract, and they are willing to do the work at that amount. And they would be working with the planning department, with public works, with our transit department, with our police department to gather accident statistics and other data that would then go into this plan to identify transportation safety issues and hazards on the reservation. So my recommendation is to accept the proposal from Northern Engineering and Consulting to do the Tribal Transportation Safety Plan for the amount of $10,330.
Is there a timeline on this, Andy, and when it would be completed?
There's not a hard timeline, but I've talked to them about it to get a feel for it, and we would, well, actually, there is a timeline. We would want it done before, by March.
Oh, okay.
Because that would coincide with potential future funding application rounds. So and they said there would be no difficulty in getting it done by then.
I think safety is a huge issue. This can identify and or assist with looking at some areas that might be high risk for crashes. I learned years ago that there's no such thing as an accident. Everything is preventable, and so they call them motor vehicle crashes, which I know much about today. Do we have a motion to approve Northern Engineering and Consulting for doing the safety agreement, safety plan for the transit program, the tribal transportation program?
Motion.
Motion by Chief, is there a second? Second by Dave, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
Okay, next we have Barb with a renewal for a recreation lease.
Morning, Barb.
Today I have a request for a renewal for a recreational lease for Rolando. He has a lease on Duffy Point Road.
Okay. Motion to approve renewal of recreational lease for Roland Rolando. Moved by David, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Chief, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, silent, motion carried. Thank you,
Thank
Barb.
you. Thank you.
Next we have Kim.
Kim Griner.
First item on that I have is the amendment to the BIA self-governance agreement, and we have a multi-year funding agreement. And so, when we had met with Ken Reinfeld, late August, beginning of September, there was a couple of amendments we have to make. We first, well, I have the reprogramming request separate, so we'll do that one. That was letter A.
Okay.
And B is revise the paragraph of section 16 to read Indian Employment and Related Services Consolidation Act of 2017. And it's, the laws have changed a little bit, and it's now Public Law 115-93, pursuant to the funds that are pursuant 102477.
Oh, okay.
We have that clause in there if we get approved for that consolidation of those programs. And so the language had to be changed slightly because the laws changed. The next amendment would read that the revise the wording to tribal program staff and volunteers in section 23. It says programs involving contact with children it has to read tribal program staff, volunteer, and foster parents. Have to comply with the background checks. And D is the trust, it's in section 24, the trust evaluation and reassumption of the multi-year funding agreement pursuant to section 403D of the title, I'm trying to blank, 4 of Public Law 93-638 as amended. The secretary shall monitor through an annual trust evaluation the trust functions performed by the tribe pursuing to this funding agreement in accordance with 25 CFR Part 1000 Subpart O. Further, the secretary may reassume any program, service, function, or area or portions thereof if the finding of imminent jeopardy to a physical trust asset, natural resources, or public health and safety in accordance with 25 CFR Part 1000 Subpart M. Yep.
That the,
Those are the amendments, because it also has attached, and then I have a second request to approve the funding reprogramming request.
we have a motion to approve the recommended changes to section 16 and adding new section 24 to the BIA self-governance multi-year funding agreement. As read by Kim.
I'll move.
Moved by Travis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Chief. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried.
The second item is it's called the BIA reprogramming request. And these are the amounts that are available, what we're going to take and what we leave with the BIA. We almost take everything. There's two areas that we do not take probate, and we do not take environmental reviews. And this is a standard form we do every year.
Any additional dollars, Kim?
The initial dollars on this, if you look at on page 7, on the last column, basically the base funding is $1,496,297. It changes multiple times through the year.
Additional stuff and
Yeah, and then
that's the base?
different. Yeah, that's where we start at every year.
Do we have a motion to approve the 2019 BIA reprogramming request?
Move. Second.
Moved by David, is there, and seconded by Trav. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried.
Okay, now I'm gonna ask a question if you wanna revise the order of which we do these in. That's listed on your agenda.
Says Fortune Bay Distribution.
You wanna set the amount first? And then, do you want us to do the presentations and then talk about the other stuff? So you have input from
Yeah.
the audience? Okay.
With regards to the Fortune Bay distribution budget, I'd like to put in a motion the amount for 2018 for the distribution from Fortune Bay, so it's for our purposes and for theirs. So this year's budget was based on 2.6 million, 2.4 for distributions monthly of $200,000. And in previous years, there was an additional $200,000 that used to come from, years ago, from the pop vendors. So that's been included in this year's budget as a other cost, I guess. So the total for the Fortune Bay distribution budget would be 2.6 million for 2018. Previous years, and I think years ago, many years ago, it was as high as 5.6. Yeah. So 2.6 for 2018. 19, I'm sorry, yeah, holy. Do we have a motion to approve that distribution amount?
2.6.
Motion.
Motion by Chief, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trav, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried.
Okay, so now do you want me to do, us to go through
Yeah.
our PowerPoint
Yeah,
that we did
please.
for the council? Okay,
Run to the restroom real quick.
oh, it's gonna take me a few minutes to set up.
Okay. We'll take a little 10-minute recess.
I don't know if we can dim some of the lights in here so that you can see the screen a
To
little
get
better.
set up, so We'll get started again, and we're going to add Mr. Latati before the budget presentation so he can actually get back to work. We don't want to hold him up any longer. So with that, we'll have Mr. Bill Latati. Morning, Bill. Don't hit your head on that screen now.
Stayed well away from it. Yeah. I'm asking this morning for the approval for a small contract with MnDOT for a project where Bois Forte would be contracting to provide identification and documentation of any historic places or properties of significance to the Bois Forte band on Highway 61 on the North Shore at the Lester River, where the Highway Department is planning to do some lane modification and bridge work. For those of you who are not familiar exactly where that is, Betty's Pies comes to mind. And they're right there. So the Highway Department asked for our help after initial letters and our TIPO's review showed that in that general area there was sugar bush, an archaeological site, and as well as several trails. Not too surprising given the Lester River and Lake Superior right there. We notified them of our concerns, and they, after some back and forth, they offered us this relatively small contract. It's total of, what was it, $4,980. Basically, 83 hours at $60 an hour. What we planned is that Lorna and I would go there, possibly with an elder who wanted to come along as well, and then take a look at the area in which this project might affect.
It's nice to have MnDOT do that, considering that Highway 23 project that happened in Fond du Lac, where that burial ground was disrupted. So I think MnDOT is really being cautious with any excavations or any road work that they're doing where there's possible historical sites or graves or whatever. So I think it's a great idea to have you go and I like the idea of taking Lorna as well as an elder. So educate our people, and our elders are the ones that know these things. So good contract. Thank you, Bill. Any questions for Bill?
It says here, under the agreement, number 2, scope of work and deliveries. The government unit will provide monitoring of any historic trails, sugar maple groves, and or traditional cultural properties impacted or having the potential to be impacted by the numbers. It's SP 3805-99 for the Bois Forte Band of Chippewa. Now, is this on the reservation and or off the reservation?
This is off the reservation, but that this is within ceded territory, so we have asked in the past to be consulted on any project that might affect historic places on any state. Well, this is actually a federal project, although it's run by MnDOT. It's with Federal Highway Administration funds.
Okay, so this basically, any cost that this is going to take is going to fall back on them.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
We're this contract, they are reimbursing us not to exceed essentially $5,000.
Okay.
Any other questions for Bill or comments? Not a call for a motion to approve the contract with MnDOT in the amount of $4,980.
Motion.
Motion by Chief, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Shane, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent, motion carried. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Good job. Okay, we'll do our budget presentations next with Kim Greiner.
Good morning. First, I'd like to talk about the budget process, so those who do not know, and then what we have in our PowerPoint. We're trying to change it up to be more informative. It's a learning process for all of us, but trying to educate the community on more on different parts of the budget. To start off with, we start the budget process in July. We start meeting with the programs individually and compiling all the budgets. When we got through our process, there was a proposed 235 budgets, and that's a copy of each one of the budgets is here for reference. The tribal council, each one of them, and Corey got their own copies of this for reference and to look at and to determine questions. And then it's broke up by department, or by senior management department and presented. We had in there, they'll talk about their overall budget and the portion of which would be funded from Fortune Bay distributions. That is the main goal of today, is to get through what the Fortune Bay distributions of 2.6 million will be used for, and to approve some other policies to go with the budget. When we start so far ahead of time, we do not, we have to make our best guesses of what carryovers will be in various things, and we have to make some assumptions. So when we started the budget, we started all the budgets using indirect cost at 22%. I put in a 5% increase for all employees going forward. And I had assumed that health insurance would increase by 7.5%, and workers' comp would stay the same. Some of those have changed. And we'll talk about those at the end, but that's where we started at. So our PowerPoint presentation is based on what was requested. Overall, I believe our total budget was 44 million, and the amount of the requests from the programs came in at 4.4 million, a little over 4.4 million. So at the beginning, our the Fortune Bay part of the total overall budget would be 10% of the budget, tribal government budget. But every year we've done this, even when Kathy had said it was, when we were getting 5.6 million from Fortune Bay, the request for the funding is always been higher. So we've always had to go through a process and trim it down and work from there. So when we get done, it'll probably be about 6% of the budget will be from Fortune Bay distributions. And these are programs that cannot be funded by grants, or their matches, or supplement some shortfalls in grants. So there's a variety of things. And there's a lot of senior management missing today. So if they're missing, Corey and I are going to trade off reading through the PowerPoint slides and do our best to answer some general questions. And then those that are here, lucky, get to come present their own. I just need to find one more. Thought I had a printout of the slides. for myself, so I didn't have to look at the screen. I did have one. I'll just have to look at the screen, so. Won't be- Okay, so, and these are in no particular order of any rhyme or reason. It was just basically who got theirs done first got put in the order first, so, as we did these. So that we start out with law enforcement. Chief Burdick isn't here. So if you go to the next slide, so there's a summary of each program or department. So let's go to the next slide. The law enforcement has a balance of what was, it's self-governance dollars, but it's at the tribe level. And this is where we pay the tribal officers out of. They have a balance of, beginning balance of $703,207. They're gonna get new revenue of about $73,000. I'm not gonna read all the I'll do approximate so we speed this up. They have other revenue of about $500, so they have a total available of $777,029, and they have estimated expenditures of $343,890, and an estimated ending balance of $433,139, and they have 4 budgets that make up their program. If you want to go to the next slide. And this, only the tribal officers are paid at Bois Forte. The other ones are paid through the BIA, and those funds stay at the BIA. So we have 2 full-time equivalents with estimated wages of $100,464, with estimated fringe of $46,587, and indirect cost of $47,983. Next screen. And they are not requesting anything from Fortune Bay Distribution, and I forgot to fix that one slide now that I think of it.
Kim, can I say something? Just for the audience's review, as you see in there, as you saw that there was money there, that's to cover our officers for the next 2 or 3 years. But we also felt the need for the drug dog, so that's where the drug dog came from, was these tribal dollars. It's not coming from the Bureau of Indian Affairs, so this dog will stay within the tribe with a tribal officer.
And I believe that's it for law enforcement. Okay, so the next one is housing. You want to
Okay.
do this one?
Yeah. Okay, so the housing, go to the next slide. So the beginning balance is $250,477. Their grant revenue is $1,777,211. The program revenue is $325,980. Their other revenue is that 300? Is there anything in front of that 300?
Pardon me?
Is there anything in front of that 300?
No.
The screen is fairly light.
Yeah.
Transfers in is $203,500,000. They're requesting from Fortune Bay Distributions the $58,400. So the total available is $2,617,868. Estimated expenditures are $1,791,060. Ending balance of $826,808. They have a total of 19 budgets. Right now, they have their full-time employees are 10.73. Estimated wages are $414,560. Estimated fringe is $231,897. Indirect cost out of that is $248,208. So basically, what a $58,400 goes for is elder housing repairs. It pays for their salary and supplies for people to fix the elder homes.
Or the elder housing repairs covers 2 elder workers and money towards supplies, correct?
No, this one is just the Nett Lake one.
Oh, the Nett Lake one, okay.
Yep. Just the Nett
One
Lake
housing worker and supplies.
The
Yeah.
Vermilion housing elder worker comes out of the Vermilion budget.
Okay.
you wanna go back to the, I have a couple of questions for you. If you wanna go back to back another slide, another one. Under program, revenue, what does that come from?
Generally, it comes from,
Go ahead.
generally it comes from, rents that are due, throughout the units. What other revenue comes in, Kim?
That is the revenues for rents for the, what did we, when we had discussed, what do we have, 130-some units?
Or 36 units or so.
Yeah, for the year.
And then you have the transfers in, you have that,
That's moving from, because the rent goes into a separate fund,
mhm,
and then it's transferred to the appropriate program that uses it for repairs.
mhm.
So all that money that's used, that we get from rents, is put back in as, basically it just buys the supplies for repairs and maintenance of the units. All the salaries come out of the NAHASDA grant.
Thank you.
I can do the DNR one too, since I'm familiar with it.
Okay.
So we'll go to the next slide. With the DNR, they have a beginning balance of $3,546,918. Their grant revenue is $900,074. $397. In-kind revenue of $86.84. Their program revenue $162,392. Other revenue is $22,000. They're requesting $105,000 from Fortune Bay Distributions. Total available is $4,819,391. Estimated expenditures of $1,923,134. Estimated ending balance is $2,896,257. They have a total of 37 budgets within the natural resources. They have 16.08 full-time equivalents. Wages are $723,700. Estimated fringe is $317,353. Indirect cost is $301,263. The distribution, the way it breaks out, is $16,000 for the community cleanup program that happens in the springtime. The $84,000 goes to the curbside collection program that picks up people's garbage at on their doorstep or on the curb, and $5,000 for conservation enforcement, for a total of $105,000.
Okay, the Planning and Community Development Department. Beginning balance, $1,348,000 approximately. Grant revenue, about $1.9 million. Program revenue, $321,800. Much of that program revenue is transit revenue, license plates fees out of the registrar department, leasing fees out of realty, that sort of thing. Revenue other, $14,500. Fortune Bay distribution, $955,583, and transfers in $945,500. Next slide, please. So the total available is $5.5 million. Estimated expenditures about $5.3 million, with an estimated ending balance of $212,084. And much of that ending balance would be in the transit department. It's in the form of, it's the anticipated transit revenue, much of it, which actually probably will get spent during the year, but the expenditure side hasn't been budgeted. We usually don't budget that till we get further into the fiscal year and know where those transit expenses are needed. Staffing, 12.9 full-time equivalents. And this includes the transit department, emergency preparedness, the registrar and energy assistance program, realty. It includes the facilities manager here at Nett Lake, and it includes the Vermilion maintenance crew and receptionists, the on-call receptionists at Vermilion. Estimated wages, $518,299. Estimated fringe, $267,659. and indirect costs of $205,524. The Fortune Bay Distribution requests the Registrar Department, $29,200, and again, that position is more than just the registrar. It also includes the Energy Assistance Program, and it also includes a couple of emergency assistance grant programs that are administered through that position. And the license plate fees aren't enough to cover all of the expenses for that. Emergency preparedness, $118,500. Real estate tribals, $25,250. There's also a real estate compact budget, which is BIA funding, but that again is not enough to cover the cost of running the realty office. Fire department is $30,300. The Vermilion Center, Vermilion Operations is $228,000. Elder housing repairs at Vermilion is $79,500. The big one here is the ICDBG grant match. This is the Indian Community Development Block Grant. It's a grant that we apply for every year, and we're successful, maybe every third year, as it's fairly competitive. And the actual amount that we would need, based on the grant levels that'll be available this coming year, will be about $267,000. So Kim has already reduced that when she gets to the bottom lines, but that if we were to get that grant, we would need the $267,000 to match it, and it would be an $800,000 grant. So it's pretty good leverage to usually fund some pretty significant projects on the reservation. The next three are three that we had requested, but I believe are being pulled out just because the funding levels won't be there. But to mention them, we had requested $9,000 to update the Veterans Memorial that's located out here just north of the building, to add names of more veterans since it was originally installed. An update to the land use plan, which was completed in 2010 and really should be updated within the next couple of years. It should be updated by 2020. So it could wait another year. And then a building asset management plan and study to basically review all of the tribally owned buildings to determine what the future repair and capital improvement needs would be. Figuring out when furnaces need to be replaced, when roofs need to be replaced, all of those kinds of things. And that would cover dozens of tribally owned buildings. But again, I believe that is getting pulled out of this request. It's something that should be looked at in the future, though. Okay.
Good morning. Andy, you forgot your crayon. Okay. Education beginning balance, $421,421. Grant revenue, $2,009,089. In kind, $233,129. Program revenues, $22,500. Those are from daycare, billings, and KBFT. Other revenue, $29,800 is from the Fortune Bay Golf tournaments. And Fortune Bay distributions, $816,585. Total available, $3,532,524. Estimated expenditures, $3,484,441. Estimated ending balance, $48,083. And we have a carryover balance because the school year fall semester starts before the fiscal year, so we need a carryover balance to help carry students through. We have a total of 33 budgets. Our full-time equivalents, 31.97. Estimated wages for fiscal year 2019, 1,176,396. Estimated fringe, 626,500, and indirect costs, 280,462. Fortune Bay distributions for education. Scholarships, 452,200. What this is, emergency assistance, I believe, well, it consists of emergency assistance, equipment, supplies, and program services. And scholarships is the primary portion of this, which is $447,000. The indirect cost in the scholarships is only $753 because the majority is the scholarships and program services, which are considered pass-throughs. Summer youth, $52,600. This is going to allow us to, we have budgeted for 10 youth for both, the two split between Vermilion and Nett Lake. The language culture development, $94,185. This is a new and ongoing request, recurring request for one new hire. Will be for some office startup equipment travel, to contract for a facilitator for strategic planning during the first year, and also ongoing planning and development during the year. Working alongside with Chaz Wagner, who is doing the language camps, and they're developing the resource library. And the intent on this is that to have a permanent position funded by the Tribal Council that will keep the language and culture progressing instead of relying on grants, because first of all, it's not guaranteed that grants are going to consistently be available. Also, grants are dictating what they want to see as outcomes. They have specifics that we aren't in control of. And we have a good momentum going now with the language and interest in the activities that are going on. I would like to see this be something permanent. The MAIA grant that we currently have is only 1 year. It ends in June. And keeping language on the forefront, I think, is very important. I hear it all the time in everyone's campaigns on the importance of it. And I just don't want to see it relied upon grants to keep it going. So again, this person that's hired under here would be more of a person who is going to be facilitating and organizing and planning, making sure that language is progressing all the way from early childhood through the school systems and into the communities, and that it's continuous and progressive. Engaging community members and key people. Nett Lake LIAC, $21,000. Vermilion LIAC, $21,000. And KBFT, $175,600 for a total of $816,585. The KBFT, those are required to sustain the other grants that KBFT operates under. So if they don't have this money, then we'll lose out on other grant funding. Any questions?
Thank you.
Good morning. So this is the 2019 Human Resources Department budget. Our beginning balance is $1,757,027. Grant revenue is $55,924. Program revenue is $3,634,718. And other revenue is $3,000. Fortune Bay distributions is $309,015. The total available would be $5,759,684. Estimated expenditures is $3,876,618. Estimated ending balance would be $1,883,066. Human Resources has 7 budgets, and those are aid to tribal government, which is the enrollment coordinator, and the enrollment position and duties and responsibilities within that position. We also have the funeral fund, the employee activity fund, medical and dental fund, unemployment compensation fund, workers' compensation fund, and the RTC unemployment fund. So we have 2 full-time equivalent staff members. Estimated wages for 2019 is $109,142. Estimated fringe is $21,357, and indirect cost is $33,869. So our request from the Fortune Bay distributions consists of $229,600 for the funeral fund and $79,415 for the Tribal Council Unemployment Compensation Fund. That's a total of $309,015.
Thank you, Miranda.
Thank you.
Morning, Joel.
Morning. This is Public Works Overview Budget. Our beginning balance is $1,315,222. Our grant revenue is $1,208,443. Other revenue would be $12,400. Fortune Bay distributions, we'd be asking for $153,500. Total available, $3,151,252. Estimated expenditures will be $2,308,858. Estimated ending balance will be $842,394 and consists of 15 budgets. Full-time equivalent, 6.50. Estimated wages for 2019, $360,189. Estimated fringe, $156,913, and indirect costs a total of $114,380. The breakdown for Fortune Bay distributions, Vermilion Water would be asking for $5,000. Indian Point Sewer, $58,500. Nett Lake Water and Sewer, which includes Palmquist, $90,000, which gives a total of $153,500. Any questions?
Questions? Thank you, Joel.
Thanks, Joel. Next, we have the tarot budgets. Beginning balance of $42,991. Grant revenue of $309,753. Program revenue of $10,000. We originally were asking for a Fortune Bay distribution of $46,000 for a total available of $408,744. Estimated expenditures of $408,614, Estimated ending balance of $130 and total of four budgets. Full-time equivalents are 2. Estimated wages are 98,040. Estimated fringe is 46,225. Indirect costs are $42,104. And originally from the Fortune Bay distributions, we estimated a request at $46,000.
Any questions on Taro? Okay, thanks, Cor.
Judicial, the judicial has a beginning balance of $70,049. Grant revenue, they have two main sources of their grants. They have the BIA self-governance, and they happen in a 3-year cycle of a CTAS grant, so they'll have $475,018. Program revenue of about $13,680. They're asking for $240,000 from Fortune Bay Distributions. That would allow them to have available $798,747. Their estimated expenditures are $798,150, leaving an ending balance of $597, and so they have 3 budgets in their department. They have 4.2 full-time equivalents. Their estimated wages are $257,822. Estimated fringe is $114,559, an indirect cost of $104,998. And they're requesting $240,000 under the program that's called the tribal court. That's the tribal share of the expenses of the judicial system.
Kim, can you explain the $240,000? It's not going towards the building, it's towards...
It's for 3 contracts. It's for the prosecutor, the public defender, and an associate judge, and their contracts. And that's it. That's all that that money would cover.
Good morning. 2019 Health and Human Services budget. Beginning balance is $3.3 million. Grant revenue, about $6.7 million. Program revenue, about $4.1 million. Other revenue, $83,676. Transfer in to other programs, $3.9 million. Total available, $18 million. Estimated expenditures, about $17.2 million. Estimated ending balance, about $1 million. We have a total of 69 budgets. For the staffing, full-time equivalent, 87.75. Estimated wages for 2019, $5.1 million. Estimated fringe, about $2 million. Indirect cost, $1.8 million. And we are not asking for any money from Fortune Bay.
Any questions? Okay, thank you, Donna.
Okay, the urban offices, this includes both offices. Beginning balance of $28,000. We're asking for Fortune Bay distributions of $91,900. Total available is $119,900. Estimated expenditures $119,659. Ending balance of $241, and they have 2 budgets, one for Minneapolis and one for Duluth. No salaries paid out of the funds. Indirect costs are $21,578. We're asking for $57,000 for the Minneapolis office and $34,900 for the Duluth office, for a total of $91,900. And that funds a lot of their programming that they put on for members in the communities and stuff down there. 2019 is there any questions? 2019 Heritage Center, beginning balance of 0, grant revenue of 60,000, other revenue of 8,400. Fortune Bay distribution request is 178,800. Total available is 247,200. Estimated expenditures of 246,600 with an ending balance of $600. There are 2 budgets for the Heritage Center. There are 2.6 full-time equivalents. Estimated wages are 118,296. Estimated fringe is 34,336. Indirect costs of 10,717. And the Heritage Center, we're asking for 178,800 to cover salaries and operating expenses.
Okay, no questions.
Okay, 2019 youth centers. This includes both centers at Nett Lake and Vermilion, which were formerly our Boys and Girls Clubs. They had a beginning balance of 183,000. We're requesting from Fortune Bay 210,800 for a total available of 393,800. Our estimated expenditures are 393,746 for an ending balance of $54. There are 2 budgets, one for Nett Lake Youth Center and one for Vermilion. There are 6.5 full-time equivalents. Estimated wages are 171,291. Estimated fringe is 75,492. Indirect cost is $71,003. So we're requesting 114,600 for Nett Lake and 96,200 for Vermilion for a total of $210,800. Powwows.
Powwows. The beginning balance in the powwow funds is 4,859. They're requesting distributions from Fortune Bay for 106,000 for a total available of 110,859 with estimated expenditures of 104,901, leaving an estimated balance of 5,958. And there's 2 budgets, and we split it for the powwows in Nett Lake and the one powwow in Vermilion. You want to go to the next slide, please? There's no salaries paid out of it, and out of the powwows, they have indirect cost of $7,051. Next slide. So for the 3 powwows in Nett Lake, they're requesting $78,000, and the powwow in Vermilion, they're requesting $28,000.
Questions? Okay.
The credit union. The credit union is in a growth, establishing itself. Takes a long time to be a standalone unit, so the tribal council donates or gives money to the credit union, but the credit union is not a legal part of the tribal government. But their beginning balance is $76,946. The credit union does have some grants, and they get $55,000. They're requesting Fortune Bay distributions of $97,000. So they have a total available of $228,946. Their estimated expenditures are $228,604 with an ending balance of $342, and they have 3 budgets within their funding. The credit union has 3.5 full-time equivalents with estimated wages of $130,000, estimated fringe of $67,259, and indirect cost of $31,313. So they're requesting $97,000 to meet their funding needs. Okay, the general funds. Okay, the beginning balance in the general funds is $13,913,152. And this is everything that's left over. It has indirect cost in there. It has the treaty fund. It has the minor trust accounts and all that in there. So there's quite a collection in here. So the indirect cost collections are $3.5 million. program revenue is 4.7 million, other revenue is 1.8 million. Fortune Bay, they're requesting Fortune Bay distributions of 1,058,582 for a total available of 25,777,692. They have estimated expenditures of 12,091,611 with an estimated ending balance of 12,986.81, and 49 budgets make up this section of it. There's 48.8 full-time equivalents in these funds. The estimated salaries is 2,277,129 with estimated fringe of 995,726, and the indirect costs collected out of these programs is 152,423. So this is the request for the funds in the general so donations of 20,000, youth football 5,000, youth basketball 10,000, Little League 3,000, RTC special projects. This is where like the elders Christmas dinner, the veterans memorial, the swearing in are all funded out of there. Communications is the newspaper and the state of the band, and that's 63,000. And the indirect cost pool shortfall, it's called, is 852,000. Indirect cost is part of all tribal governments, and you'll never collect 100%, and we collect roughly 80%, 75 to 80% through programs, and then we have to fund the shortfall because there's a number of programs that have either the federal law says you cannot charge indirect, or there's been waived over the years for the tribal council. So that's how we came up with a request of $4,427,165 for money out of Fortune Bays. Okay, we're done with the PowerPoint now. It's hard to see.
Kim, you want to go back to the slide again?
Which one, the last one?
The last one where it showed
Uh-huh.
the breakdown of the,
Yeah.
I would just like to point out that for next year, I asked for monies to be set aside for, or actually, yeah, they did talk about it when we were up in the budget meeting upstairs, is the money to be set aside for kids that don't play sports. Because we do have kids that don't play sports, and they do want to do something maybe as a group. So I did ask for money to be set aside for that. Also, I do believe Kathy did ask for money for girls sports. So looking at that as well, the girls that play sports.
Thank you.
One thing that we had pointed out so people understood how much was charged to each department for indirect, in about 2 to 3 weeks, I'm going to be doing a comprehensive teaching session on indirect so program directors understand what it is, how it's calculated, and why there's shortfalls and why it has to be funded. So we had done all these, like I said, we had started out with some assumptions, and so when we started out with indirect at 21% or 22%, and after we get all the information together, it was determined we only had to budget for about 21%. And once we finally get through the negotiation, it'll probably be slightly less than that. So that was one change we could do to reduce funds requested. The other thing is that when we started the process of doing our budgets to the time we are here now, we have met with our health insurance company, and we don't have any increase in our health care costs, virtually very little, that we didn't need to change our premium funding. So I was able to reduce my increase that I had increased it into at 7.5% down to no increase. So it stays the same. And then workers' comp, we are fully funded in our self-insurance fund, and I had talked to Brad, and Fortune Bay has already implemented it too, that we only need to fund at, I have it in my notes, like 0.5%, 0.5% straight on wages, because currently we were charging by category. So it depended on what job position you worked in, it was different, so that also saved. So those collective, saved a portion of money, and that was 107,000. Some of the programs could be funded by other spots within, because when we start this, we have to make a list, and then we have to kind of wait to see where we're at. So a number of programs were able to be taken out of there, and so we got ours down to 2.6 million. Do you want me to read the lines that what we're paying for out of the Fortune Bay distributions? Okay.
Go ahead, Lorna.
Kathy, you probably remember last year when you did this up at Fortune Bay, you had gone over the Tribal Council Unemployment Fund. Last year, Fortune Bay put in $65,200 for the Tribal Council Unemployment Fund. This year, you're requesting $79,415 for the Tribal Council Unemployment Fund. And when I asked the question last year, you had mentioned that there should be another way, a better way. And so I'm curious to know what you've done and why it's higher this year, being requested.
I can answer it.
She can answer the higher one, but I can answer the what's been done. Actually, there really hasn't been anything done, but it's something that needs to be done. And I'm hoping that with this new council, I think that we need, and I'm trying to get what other councils are doing with regards to unemployment, because for those that don't know, and I'll use myself as an example, the unemployment, when I worked at healthcare for 20 years and then went to the council, then the years that I put in service at health, once I got off the council, I was not eligible for state unemployment because it's a certain time period you have to apply for unemployment. So I think years ago the council set up the unemployment fund for those individuals that run for office, so they have some type of income after, because usually when you leave a job or have a job, you are entitled to state unemployment. With elected officials, that's not the case for tribal elected officials. Why nothing got done is because the council really never addressed the issue. And usually what happens, everybody runs on a campaign and says, these are things that we're going to address. Well, they bring it up and then it falls to the wayside. And again, I have to say that this fell to the wayside. So it's something that I think should be set in place for the next time, because I think it needs to be consistent across the board where it hasn't been in the past. And so that's how the unemployment is. But why it went up, I don't know.
Well, I can answer two questions.
Okay, go ahead.
There's two parts to that. First of all, when we did the budgets last year, we had the 2.6, and we had already budgeted that out, and then the council had passed that additional amount, but we only got 2.6, and we stayed at 2.6. So it was never funded last year. Even though it was in the resolution, we never funded it that year. And this year, when I did the estimate, I did it higher on the two highest possible, the worst case scenario, where before I didn't have it that way because I didn't know, because it was a year ago, we didn't know who was running and not gonna run, so and so what I do is when I usually do it, when I know way ahead of time, I take how many positions are open, because it usually lapses over a fiscal year. And this year's difference because, so we never funded it in fiscal year 2018. So we're 19 and we actually know the actual amount. And that's not even and that even changed since then. Because you have to realize we started this way back in July. So we're doing our best guess. And that one's not in there, but yes, we do need to change it and have a way of permanently funding it, because tribal council members, for the audience that don't know, like Kathy had said, are not eligible for unemployment because in the state of Minnesota, any elected official is not allowed for unemployment when they leave office. And a long time ago they used to be, so they had established that. The other thing that the audience may not realize too is that tribal council members do not pay Social Security and FICA, Social Security and Medicare taxes, and they are not eligible to receive, they don't get credit for the years they're on the council because there's an old revenue ruling from the IRS from the 50s that's on the books that the IRS, what was it, probably in around 2006, decided to dig up and enforce. So they don't, you know, they lose out on certain benefits like other employees do.
Regarding your, regarding the unemployment for the council members, is it set for the current, at the current wage that they were earning when they left office, or is it just a flat rate?
It's based on their current rates when they left office.
And what's that percentage?
It's 60% of their current wages, 60% for 26 weeks from when they left office, at their rate with it when they left office.
So basically, how long will that last?
26 weeks is 1/2 year, 13 pay periods. And that's the length that the state of Minnesota's unemployment runs, is 26 weeks.
Okay, Kim.
Okay. So when we met with the tribal council, we met for 3 full days, and I'm sure it gave them all headaches with all the numbers. So out of the Fortune Bay distributions,
You have that on?
there's going to be, it would be $56,400 for elder housing repair.
You have that on a for
It's
this-
in your packets. It should be in your packets. It looks like this.
But you don't have it for the screen?
No. It wouldn't show up. It's too small to be on the screen to have it all up there. It'd be on there with a, I don't know if it got copied with it, but it would be the far, that's it right there. It's not, didn't get copied in color.
Budget for it.
Okay, for emergency preparedness would be funded at $114,850. Elder housing repair for Vermillion would be at $77,400. Scholarships would be funded at $439,556. Summer youth would be funded at $51,800. On the language and culture development request, the council is going to set $25,000 aside to, and then look at the proper way to do it. Is that how we explained it? Okay. Or to come up with a long-term plan. So, Vermillion LAC, $21,000, Nett Lake LAC, $21,000, KBFT, $170,400, the funeral fund at $229,600, Indian Point Sewer at $57,750, Nett Lake Water and Sewer at $66,650. Tribal Court at $201,300. Minneapolis Urban Office at $51,300. Duluth Urban Office at $29,450. Heritage Center Operations, $172,350. Nett Lake Youth Center, $71,100. Vermillion Youth Center, $52,000. Nett Lake Powwow, $74,900. Vermillion Powwow, $25,000. Credit Union, $92,500. Donations, $20,000. Football, $5,000. Basketball, $10,000. Little League, $3,000. And then the balance of the 2.6 is going to the indirect cost shortfall. And there's about 8 line items, and I don't have a calculator with me to add it up instead of reading them line by line. So that makes up the 2.6. That's the amount that's funded from Fortune Bay Distributions. And then when we did the budgets, I didn't know what the carryover was going to be for the general fund. So out of the general fund dollars, it's funded out of not the same pot of money. Is community cleanup would get $15,550. Curbside pickup would get $81,900. Conservation enforcement would get $4,800. Registrar would get $27,750. Real estate would get $23,100. Fire department would get $30,050. The Vermilion Center would get $212,500. The RTC Special Projects would get $94,200, and the Communications would get $62,500. Anything I missed, or?
Make a motion to approve this then too? Yeah, I'd just like to add that these programs that we've been talking about are needed and they're important to our community. And just different needs that come year after year, and it's very difficult for the council and our directors to come up with cuts that have to be made. And Fortune Bay, you got to remember that it was there to help the band, each band, to use the dollars that they get from Fortune Bay to offset different programs and needs that we need. And that's the way the National Indian Gaming came up with to IGRA, so to meet the needs that the reservations were short of. And so that's why we have to make these allocations from Fortune Bay. And granted that we've had some businesses that we went into, business ventures that we went into that weren't successful, and but we have to try. We have to try to get different programs or businesses that come to the reservation, that we bring to the reservation, to try to open up employment for our band members. But again, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't work. So. But again, it's really a hard decision that the council has to wrestle with year after year, and I really commend our directors for helping and coming up with their wants and their needs that they wanted to get, but couldn't get funded. But again, it was really tough work, and I commend Kim and Corey. They did an outstanding job and doing what they do. And with that, I guess we're ready to make a motion to approve the budget.
Motion made by Dave to approve the 2019 tribal government budgets and Fortune Bay budget.
Second.
Seconded by Chief. Sorry, I forgot that. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Silent? Motion carried.
I'd like to say something is that, coming on board into this. This was really a learning experience. We had to make some tough decisions, and we kept having budget meetings, and then trying to find out how to make this work and how to make this fit, within the money that was being given to us from Fortune Bay. And looking at this, we do need to look at creating some new businesses off the reservation. To get money to come into the reservation, to cash flow, to increase it so we can start building a healthy financial reserve. Because it was tough to cut some of these things out when you know the programs need it. And then when you go home at night and you take the stuff home, and you're trying to think, and it was mind-boggling. And myself, I've always said that our tribe has a great potential to do a lot of good, and I still believe that.
Thank you, Shane. I know that when we do this is kind of like the first year that we've really done this type of budget presentation, but basically, if there's other ways or things that can be improved on with this budget presentation, please let us know, because we plan on doing it next year. It's trying to get more information out to the tribal members on how we do what we do with our budgets, and then getting back input from them. I'm hoping that this being our first time that we met part of that need. I know there's probably unanswered questions out there on why is this like this or whatever, but don't be afraid to ask. You're entitled to, and that's what we're here for, is to answer questions or anything. But I really want to commend the council and the people, the directors and Kim and everybody that worked on these, because it is a long process, and the council members, the new council members, for taking the crash course on budgets, so we can be in operating mode rather than continuing resolution mode. And it was a big learning process for them, so at a small amount of time. So if we can improve, I'm sure we can improve on our presentations for next year, but for this year, I'm hoping that we helped open the doors a little bit with that communication. And as always, there's always room for improvement. So with that, we'll move on. Anybody else have something to say? I'm sorry. Okay. Corey?
Yep,
Oh, Kim. I'm
401k
sorry, I forgot
match.
Kim again.
Yeah, you're not getting rid of me that fast.
Shucks.
Okay, the first item is the 401k match. As last year, we had reduced it to 2.5% as of January 1st, 2018. And so this would to restore that back to the 5% match as of January 1st, 2019. And that was budgeted for in the budgets this year.
We have a motion to approve changing the 401k match from 2.5 to 5% effective January 1, 2019.
Move.
Moved by Travis. Is there a second? Second by Dave. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Silent? Motion carried.
The next item is the salary freeze. Last year, all employees were froze. In this budget, it would be, I budgeted for a 5% increase. You would be eligible for up to a 5% increase based on your performance from your fiscal year 19 anniversary. So there's no retroactive pay other than to your anniversary date after October 1, 2018. So, and then this also sets the possible rates to, so for fiscal year 19, you're eligible up to a 5% raise. In fiscal year 20, you're up to a 4% raise. In fiscal year 2021, a 3% raise, which is about the national average.
We have a motion to approve the salary performances for the next, for the next 3 years from 5-4-3.
Move.
Moved by Chief, is there a second? Second by Dave, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, silent, motion carried.
And the last item is setting the workers' comp rate at 0.5% for all positions straight across the board.
We have a motion to approve the workers' comp rate, the self-funded workers' comp rate at 0.5% for all positions. Effective date, October 1.
October 1 for us, and Fortune Bay, when they switched to ADP, implemented it then.
Oh, and off, July
July
27,
27th,
2018 for Fortune Bay. Do you have a motion to approve those worker comp rates?
Move.
Moved by Travis, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Chief, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, silent, motion carried.
I'm done.
Are you done? Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you, Kim.
Okay, next we have appointments for the MCT subcommittees. The only thing, I wasn't able to get the bylaws for the Minnesota Finance Committee,
Okay.
but we did for the Education, Health and Human Services, and the Natural Resources, and as of course Dave, we threw in the legislative one, but that's a different set of bylaws for the sub-legislative group. So, but we need an appointment for the Education, Natural Resources, and the Finance Corporation.
These are for the MCT, huh? Shane offered to do the Education, Human Services. We have a motion to approve Shane to the Education, Human Services Subcommittee.
Move.
Is there a second? Second by Dave. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, silent, motion carried. Next is the Natural Resources Environment, and Chief expressed interest in the Natural Resources Board, so do we have a motion to approve Chief to the Natural Resources Environmental
I'll move.
MCT Subcommittee? Oh, let me finish talking. Made by Shane, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Trav, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried. Travis expressed an interest in the Finance Corporation. Do we have a motion to approve Travis to the Finance Corporation? Made by Dave. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Chief. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried.
Maybe you could just give an update on how that one,
Legislative is
legislative-
done by, who serves on the
TEC.
TEC as like vice chair, secretary, treasurer, and chair. So those are, Dave is currently the treasurer of the legislative committee, so he sits on there for Bois Forte.
Yep. So I think that
No.
was done by, it was just more for information.
Pardon?
It was more for an information?
Yeah, it's
of that.
informational, so. We also have the selection of vice chair. Ray Toodloff was the vice chair before, and Travis says, I feel great vice chair, so I'd like to recommend Travis as vice chair. Travis as vice chair.
I'll move.
Moved by rock, paper, scissors, no. Moved by Dave, seconded by Shane?
Sure.
Okay. To select Travis as vice chair. All in favor signify by saying
Aye.
opposed, silent, motion carried. Congrats.
We have no other items for the agenda?
Do we have a
Opposed.
motion to adjourn?
Actually,
Oh,
I don't have the committee that Travis is gonna sit on.
he's on finance.
That was the
Finance
one,
Corporation.
we didn't get a copy of, when I was requesting bylaws from the MCT, we didn't get a copy of the housing finance. It's MCT Housing Committee.
Okay.
That's what it's called Finance Committee, but it's the housing one, natural resources, and then we have the education.
Motion to adjourn? This is usually the fastest motion.
Move.
Made by Shane,
Second.
second by Chief. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried. Thank you, everybody, for coming.